All right. Blaire White's somebody we've talked about before, but usually not in video form. So I guess this is going to be my chance to actually talk about an issue where Blaire is concerned. Now, the video that I'm looking at today is called Reacting to Transgender Kid Comics, Make It Stop. So this is a type of cringe compilation type of deal, which I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction that, because I've seen 3 minutes of this video, not the entire thing, that there's going to be a lot of misunderstanding things deliberately so that it's like fun and quirky, but this is the kind of stuff that actually leads to people internalizing these types of ideas and, well, leading to problems. So, let's begin.
What do you mean I have boy parts? Are you talking about my penis? Because it's mine and I'm a girl, so it's a girl's penis. So
How is that funny? How is that even cringy? That's if your parts are going to be given whatever gender you happen to be, then yeah, just be a girl's penis. That's logical consequence. It's entailed. What?
doctors measured the baby's micropenis to know if it could potentially be penetrating. If yes, they'd make a boy of them. What the f*** is this?
Okay, so that's a clip of things before of
Hi.
These are the hot moments of the video that she wanted to clip for the beginning part. Because there's a thing you do as a YouTuber when you actually know what you're doing. I'm not a YouTuber who knows what they're doing. The thing you do is you take the best parts of your video and you put them in the beginning so that people get a taste of what your video is going to be, and then you play your intro, and then you begin the actual video itself. But, okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to my main channel. So in today's video, I actually had a completely different topic planned that I wanted to film about, but you know, it was just a really dark topic, and I don't know, I just woke up in a really good mood today. I've been super bubbly all week, so I was like, okay, do I maintain my good mood and do a video where I might laugh a little for once? Can we laugh in 2020? Please.
No, you can't. Don't even try.
Or do I wreck my mood?
That was actually funny.
Also, some of you guys' moods and do the dark video. I'll save that for the next time. Today, let's just laugh. So I was looking through my Instagram DMs and I saw that one of you guys sent me a message saying, Blaire, what are you actually doing? You should have been reacting to this in a video like yesterday, like last year, last decade. And I was like, okay, let me look. Chill. Transgender comics for children. This is apparently, allegedly, a thing, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
Where's the evidence that these are comics for children? I wonder if she's going to present that.
It's because it is the internet, but I really have never seen these. And let me tell you something, I wanted to give them a chance. I said, okay, just because they are comic strips for kids about transgenderism does not mean they're going to inherently be cringe, right? And okay, some of them aren't that bad, and I actually will be giving props where props are due in this video, but most of them are just... I'm gonna react to them.
Okay. There's a lot of preamble here.
Read them to you, story time with Blaire, and you're gonna suffer with me, okay? Okay, awesome. We're all in this together, new normal, all that shit, right? So let's just dive in head first. What do you mean I have boy parts? Are you talking about my penis? Because it's mine, and I'm a girl, so it's a girl's penis.
Yeah, that's true. Where's the joke?
You guys know, I've been very honest. I, as a trans woman myself, I'm still pre-op, so, you know, y'all know what I still have down there, but I would never.
See, I don't like this. Okay, let's talk about some terminology real quick that I'm not a big fan of. I've started to move away from wanting pre-op and post-op to be standard terminology, and I'm going to be honest as to why. When you say if you say you're trans but you're pre-op or trans but you're post-op, there's this idea that that's expected. Like, let's say that Blaire doesn't want to get rid of her penis, just wants to keep it. By going she's pre-op, that kind of assumes there's going to be a post-op at some point, or even assumes that that's expected. And I don't like that stance. Not every trans person wants surgery. Some people just, like, through hormone therapy and through behavioral changes, get to the point where they're no longer experiencing dysphoria, if you are a trans person who experiences dysphoria, and they get to the point where they're comfortable. They don't need anything. The idea that the surgery is even necessary, it may be for some people, but not necessarily for all. And I'm not a big fan of pre-op, post-op as terminology because of that. Like, I don't think there's anything more I can say about that particularly. Like, I'm okay with the term non-op, like Trend just said in there, but I don't like pre-op or post-op because again, that seems to be assuming that it's an expectation that it's going to happen eventually. Like, if you go, I'm pre-op, but then you say, but I'm never going to get the operation, well, you're not pre-op. You're just non-op. You're not having the operation. And I don't like the environment that a trans influencer creates when that terminology is constantly being used.
Utter a phrase like this. I'm very self-aware that what I have, regardless of anything else on my body, that is male anatomy. And that's just on period. And honestly, that whole language, like, girl thing strikes me as very fetishy, and I've only ever even heard that phrase used by, like, men who...
Wait, it strikes you as fetishy to just say that it's a woman's penis? How's that? If you're a woman and you have a penis, it's just a woman's penis. How's that fetishy? Like, yeah, there's the Jessica Yannives of the world who fetishize certain things like periods, but I don't see how that's fetishy. I don't.
Are fetishizing me. So the fact that it's appearing in a comic book for kids is interesting.
Is there any evidence that these are comics for kids, though? Like, you haven't presented any, aside from them just being comics, have you presented any evidence that these are comics for kids?
It's not a moment for me. That's more like an issue for me. So this one's called The Customer is Always Cis. Hey, Scott, here's your coffee, just the way you like it. Thanks, Jess. You're the best. Whoa, I had no idea you're transgender.
It's also being pointed out in the chat that Assigned Male, the artist who made the previous comic that Blaire was reacting to, doesn't make comics for kids. How is this stuff for kids then? Is it just that it's cartoons? That it's for kids? Because if that's the case, Blaire, I'd like to introduce you to some anime. Just let's go ahead and talk about for kids. But then let's talk about some anime that are most certainly not for them. You know what? If it's for kids, go ahead. Your child can watch Kill la Kill. It's fine. It's nothing bad. Nothing's in there that I would question showing a child. That's definitely sarcasm. Or South Park, or Simpsons, or Family Guy, or what have you.
Wow, you're just so beautiful. I never would have guessed. But now that I know, I can see how you used to be, dude.
Okay, so this is a thing that I do have an issue with. This is called clocking, okay? This is when you are trying to look at somebody and determine if they used to be a particular gender. It also happens with age, too. This is literally just clocking, and it's a really bad habit that people tend to do. Like, you don't do the compliment, wow, you're so beautiful, I never would have guessed you're trans. And then suddenly, but let me just try to clock you real quick. That Adam's apple do be looking pretty sus, though. Like, okay. Have you ever thought that this is the same issue with, like, dead naming? Don't draw attention to the fact that there used to be something there. Somebody can be proud and be trans and have, like, a trans bracelet or something or a shirt showing that they're proud that they're trans, but that does not mean they want you to bring attention to the fact that they used to identify a different way or might not have ever identified that way and have simply had to be stuck in the closet for an amount of time. Like, it's one of those like very microaggression-y things where you don't think you're doing anything bad, but when you are dead naming, when you are clocking, when you are doing these things, it's bad. And there's a certain conspiratorial mindset that comes from this too. How many of you guys have seen the Michelle Obama used to be a man? That conspiracy, that's a direct result of this kind of thinking. When you are constantly trying to clock, you're sitting there looking at people like Michelle Obama, or there's been people who've done this shit with like Shannon Q, who've looked and gone, those shoulders are a bit too broad. It's a man. Like, that's it. This is the kind of stuff. This is generally what you get a lot with like Blaire's content is it doesn't seem bad until you think about it for a couple of seconds and you're like, oh wait, no, I can see how that could be harmful. But let's continue.
That one's kind of funny. So honestly, I get the message.
Like, yeah, it is presented in a comedic fashion. It's supposed to be funny. Comedy being used to explain an idea is not abnormal, but
in this one because I also find it a little annoying. It's usually like drunk girls in clubs or guys who know but still want to hit on you and give you the whole, oh, I never would have guessed you, or like, oh, I never would have known, getting all up in your mug and shit. But the character of this comic is literally wearing a bracelet that says transgender, which I've never really understood. People do that in real life. Like,
it literally says on the bracelet, trans pride. Okay, so I have a question for anybody in the chat. If you're gay, do you want people to constantly obsess over what you do in the bedroom? Probably not. But at the same time, would you wear a gay pride shirt? Sure, probably. Wearing the shirt that says pride in who I am does not mean that I want you to constantly fucking question it. It'd be like if I was wearing a shirt that said like gamer pride, right? Or I was just like, I'm a proud gamer. And then fucking Jack Thompson comes walking down. Disbarred motherfucker Jack Thompson. Looking at me like, did you know that Grand Theft Auto is the reason that multiple mass shootings happened? Did you know? I was disbarred because I tried to convince people that video games caused everybody to be violent. Like, I don't want to have this fucking conversation just because I'm a gamer. I don't. And I guarantee you a trans person doesn't want to have this conversation with you just because they're wearing a trans pride bracelet. It's not hard. It's not difficult.
Literally wearing a bracelet that says transgender, which I've never really understood. People do that in real life. Like, this is a real thing. Like, people walk around with like trans flags and like transgender and like trans tattoos in their chest and stuff. And it's like, ooh, why would you do that? I can't relate to that. And I'm not judging because I have a vegan tattoo, and safe to say, homegirl is not vegan anymore. But you know, if you're gonna wear transgender on your forehead, basically, you probably shouldn't be shocked when people bring it up to you.
It's not that you should be shocked. It's that it should be accepted in society over time as just a matter of respect not to engage in that behavior. When you get to know somebody better, when they're no longer a stranger, you might be able to sit there and have the conversation, hey, can we talk about like your life, like how things used to be? What feelings and emotions did you have that brought you to where you are today? A respectful dialogue about not why someone is trans, but how they found out they're trans. That's a thing you can have with a friend or somebody that you know. You don't do that with a random stranger in a coffee shop, and that's what the comic is showing, Blaire. Missing the point.
You're a guy?
I was.
You're a guy?
Past tense.
It's the story of a healthy baby that made the doctors really anxious because of their micro penis. You see, it's because that baby challenged the common belief of doctors and society about what makes a girl and a boy.
Okay, so we got to talk about sex for a second here. Generally speaking, if you are a biologist, you do not look at the size of a penis to determine whether or not male or female. You look at gametes. Gametes! That's the main thing you look at. Technically, there are 5 things you look at, but the main one, the one with the biggest factor, is gametes, not penis, not chromosomes. Chromosomes do end up making up your gametes, by the way, but let's not fall for the fallacy of composition. Oh my god.
So doctors measured the baby's micropenis to know if it could potentially be penetrating. If yes, they'd make a boy of them. What the f*** is this? This one is just really uncomfortable, and if I told you I even understood what they were trying to educate people on in this one, I'd be lying.
So there is a misunderstanding in the comic itself, and that misunderstanding is what a biologist specifically would be looking for where sex is concerned. But again, when we're talking about this, if we're talking about just like a doctor, yeah, they might be looking at that and saying, "Oh, there's testes and gonads. Let's do the thing. Let's do the thing." Okay, the 5 things that we look for in sex generally. Okay. We're looking at phenotypical expression, gonadal expression, chromosomal expression, gametal expression, and genitalia expression. So the expression of is it a penis or a clit? The expression of are they testes or ovaries? The expression of is there an X or Y chromosome? Ignoring outliers like Klinefelters. Do these chromosomes make up a sperm or ovum producing gamete? And what phenotype is expressed here? Are there going to be developing breasts? Are there things like an Adam's apple to look at? These are phenotypical expressions that are going to be there. All of these are used when determining sex if you're outside of just a strict, like, biologist understanding of sex. Okay? Of course, there's going to be confusion if a doctor is only looking at penis size, because there are other factors to look at. The purpose of the comic is to show that you can't just use a penis to determine whether or not this is a male or female. There are other factors to look at. It's not hard. Like, yeah, it's complicated, but it's not hard.
Can someone explain this one in the comments to me, because
I just did.
it's kind of just making me feel itchy. A gay couple raising a kid, aren't you afraid it'll confuse him? Well, my parents were cis and straight, but that never confused me as to how gay I was. Same. Don't you know cis and straight couples have had gay children for ages? You're already confusing me. Imagine how it'll be for the kid. And then the kid is gay and not confused.
I thought this was supposed to be about transgender kid comics. How is this a transgender comic, Blaire?
So, I understand the message of this one, like they're trying to say, like, just because the parents are gay doesn't mean the kid are going to be gay, you know, and obviously I support gay couples adopting, that's a no-brainer, but the artist is, like, leaning into the stereotype that gay couples make their kids gay.
No, they're not. That's not what they did. Your conservative audience probably thinks that that's what it is and that's what you have to grift into, but no, that's not what the comic suggests.
Like, they drew the kid as gay. Like, they made the baby gay.
And?
It's a gay bee. Having gay parents does not make you gay, okay? Watching Blaire White videos makes you gay. She's too young to decide to be a girl, said no one ever to the cisgender girl. That's because they don't decide. That's like the point.
Yeah! You fell into it, didn't you?
Okay, anyways. We'll never agree on that one.
Trans people didn't decide to be trans. You don't decide your identity. Your identity is based off of your beliefs and based off of your lived experiences. You don't control your beliefs or your lived experiences. So you don't decide to be trans. It's just a thing that happens. You decide to come out of the closet. You decide who you communicate that to. You decide how you present that to people. But you don't decide to be trans. There's nothing to disagree with here, Blaire. There's nothing to disagree with here.
Respect intersex babies. Don't mutilate them. Okay, so I said I was gonna give props where props were due, and I actually like this one because I've watched a bunch of documentaries on intersex people. It's really interesting, and if you don't know what intersex means, it's basically an umbrella term for a bunch of different conditions that babies can be born
XXY,
with that make their
Klinefelters,
biological
etc.
sex less identifiable. So you have some babies that are born with, like, you know, internal female organs like ovaries, and then external male organs like testes, and a bunch of different variations of that. So a lot of these intersex babies, when they're born, are actually given corrective surgeries and basically given sex changes when they're just a few hours old, because the parents and the surgeon, they all decide, like, that this is going to be a boy, this is going to be a girl. And unfortunately, it really messes up a lot of these adults when they get into adulthood, because, you know, they had their gender basically decided for them. Like, really decided for them, not just how activists claim, you know, and it, like, doesn't match how they grow up. So it's really interesting, and I actually agree with this one, so That's a good one. Babies can't consent to these surgeries.
Yeah.
So this one
We
is
agree
called
with Blaire.
because-
Congratulations. It happened. Also, Chris has been timed out because children go to timeout.
Don't get it. Hey mom, I wanted you to meet my friend Ellery. Hi, Jessica's mom. Hello. So which pronouns do they go by, he or she? As if that's like a normal question to ask someone when they greet.
Okay, so I got a question for anybody in the chat. Who here has met someone on Twitter? Okay? Or seen somebody on Twitter who was cool, or in a Discord or what have you, where they didn't have like a pronoun set up, and you've asked one of their friends, or even asked them, "Hey, what pronouns do you go by?" How many of you have done this in real life? Because if you've been having these types of conversations for a while, it happens more often than you'd think, Blaire. It happens more often than you'd think. When Pokemon Go started, and that started getting really big, I remember there was a person in the park that I went to, that I played it a lot, and we ended up hanging out for a little bit, just like trying to catch Pokemon and talking a tiny bit. And when I introduced myself, the first thing I had to do was go, "Hey, what are your pronouns?" Because they were completely androgynous. I had no way of knowing. Turns out they were also trans. They were female to male trans. So it's a good thing that I asked them and didn't just take a fucking guess. It's not a difficult thing to do. It's no different than asking, "Hey, what's your name?" Or, "Hey, what's their name? I forgot their name." These are things that are not difficult, and I've done them in real life, and these were things I did, 5 years ago? Well, Pokemon Go came out when? Fucking whenever it came out. 4 or 5 years ago. And they didn't seem weird to me then, and they don't seem weird to me now. Like, Jesus.
Greet you, but whatever. Neither actually. They go by they. They? That doesn't make any sense. They means more than one person.
No, it doesn't. Even in this fucking book, singular theys can be found.
You literally just use they as a singular pronoun. And since when do you care about grammar? Okay, so are they really a boy or a girl? Sorry, my mom is a clueless cis sexist, but she's trying. Sort of. No worries, I'm pretty used to it. I'm sorry, I just don't get you gender kids. What does cis sexist mean?
It means that she is... Okay, so while that is kind of a weird phrase, I do understand what it means. You're basically trying to use a stand-in for something like transphobe that is less pointed than transphobe. But they are being sexist in favor of people who are cis and against people who are not cis. So trans. Again, the shorthand we would normally use is just some form of transphobe. But again, this is not complicated. Like, the mother doesn't understand. And when they're trying to go, "Oh, are they really a boy or a girl?" Well, no, they are a they. That gender socially constructed. Their social classification of personal identification is they. That is what they are comfortable with. That is what they are using. That's not difficult, Blaire. You look so, she looks so confused here. But there's no reason to be confused. They like Cheetos. They lost their wallet. Like, Jesus.
I don't even keep up with all these words. Honestly,
It is never, at any point in time, a good argument to say, "I cannot keep up with this." Technology does not suddenly become bad because you can't keep up with it, or become obsolete because you can't keep up with it. Words don't suddenly become silly because you can't keep up with them. Language evolves. It does it pretty normally. You either accept that fact or don't, but one of those acceptances is reality.
I just don't understand how these are made for kids. Like, this literally just comes across as, like, activist dribble.
Is this made for kids, though? Again, at what point is it presented that this is made for kids? You can say that it's activist drivel, but we can say the same thing about your content here. You're just being an anti-activist, and it's still drivel. But the people who you have presented so far, one of which most certainly does not make their comics for kids. I don't... Jesus fucking
Like,
Christ,
I don't
Blaire.
understand how the demographic of these things are for kids. It feels like they were just made by activists for other activists to read, and they just call it for kids. I mean, honestly,
Did they call it for kids, though? Or did you call it for kids, Blaire? Moreover, wow, Blaire, I wonder what it's like to make content for an echo chamber. I wonder what that must be like. That's okay, Blaire, don't worry, you're one of the good ones. Now, don't get me wrong, there is value to Blaire being a trans influencer. I'm sure there are conservatives who get introduced to Blaire who reaffirms their conservative ideology, but exists as a trans person. So they might end up moving from they're one of the good ones into, wait, no, trans people just aren't that bad. That's a thing that might happen. It happened with gay people. But that doesn't suddenly mean that her content is good. That's just me looking for a silver lining.
when I was a kid, I was watching Power Rangers and Pokemon and staying up past my bedtime to watch The Simple Life with Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton. Like, that was my life.
And
That's hot.
I feel like if I was given these to read as a kid, I would be even more messed up than I am right now. This one's...
but if that's the case, and you just said that would mean that the media that you already consumed messed you up. So then what's the fucking point? Okay.
called Assigned Male, and it's like a doctor and a mom and a trans child in this one. You're all set. Your mom will tell me if there's anything wrong with your hormone blocker prescription. You'll get your first shot in 2 days. Can you change the sex marker on my ID now? Asked the little girl.
No.
They even put it on the library card. I can't borrow books because of it. Oh, sadly, you can't change it unless you have your actual sex changed. And then the little girl is yelling at her mom, but mom, you told me sex was hormonal. The little girl says, I hate how the definition of sex is as arbitrary as gender stereotypes. This adult game is boring. Yeah, this is literally just activist dribble. It's
So, okay, so while, yes, that comic is a little cringy, because that's not how kids talk, right? At the same time, it literally is framing this as a game that adults play. That's the point of the comic. And I'm going to be honest, I actually don't see how that's not apropos. Gender is a societal game, and adults are largely responsible for the language and the distribution of ideas where that's concerned, both in the research department and in just general praxis. So the idea that this is just activist drivel, like, no, it's just pointing out that this is a societal game, and we play it. Also, can I point out that this is a point against the comic creator here, potentially. The reason that they would not change something on your ID or anything until you've had time with the hormone blockers is the point of puberty blockers is not to affirm that you will be trans. They are to buy you time to determine whether or not this is a decision you want to actually make. They generally buy you about 5 to 7 years of time. And the only real side effect we have found so far has been that hormone blockers can potentially lead to a deficiency in calcium, which is bad, yes. And if you actually care about this particular one, they can also end up making you sterile. But if you had to take the choice between being fertile and miserable or sterile and happy, I would rather take happy. Like, you can always adopt. There's always other options. But regardless, the chances of those things happening are decently low, and there's always risks to literally any medication that ever happens. And the point of the puberty blocker is to buy you time. If a puberty blocker is administered at about 10 or 11, when you would be starting puberty, then they would be taken away by the time you're about 16 or 17, when you are at an age where you are more qualified to be introspective enough to determine whether or not you actually want to go through with standard puberty, being cis, or if you want to go through a different type of puberty utilizing hormones. That's what puberty blockers do. That's their job. There's nothing confusing about that.
It's so telling how in this comic the little girl complains about how it's hard, like, making adult decisions, but the message of it is to convey that these are decisions that are okay for children to make.
No, that's not the message. The message is that gender is a societal game that's silly to play.
Seems a bit contradictory to me. And biological sex, unfortunately, is very far from arbitrary in 99.9% of cases, but...
Yes, but the way in which it is phenotypically shown to people on the outside has a great deal to do with one's personal dysphoria, whether or not they experience it. And by the way, can I just point out that the idea that sex is not arbitrary, but just something that is innate and that we cannot control in any way, shape, or form is completely contingent on technology. Decades ago, it would have been thought completely strange and out of the ordinary for us to even have some of the surgeries we have right now. Things that would have been considered innate. Dying of appendicitis was innate until we found out we could remove it. Until we found out what was causing these things and we could remove them. These things that you consider innate are usually, generally, temporarily innate until we develop a technology that helps us move forward. Right now, we can change genitalia expression, we can change gonadal expression, we can change phenotypical expression. How long? Until we can change chromosomal expression and, by extension, gametal expression. Give it time. Technology is a wonderful tool. Modern medicine is a wonderful thing.
Yay. All right, I can feel an aneurysm occurring right here, like literally right here.
So is this where you show us the
That is
evidence
my
that these were for
huge shout out
kids?
from this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this little
No, we
story.
didn't enjoy, and you didn't show us that they were for kids, Blaire. You never demonstrated that these were for kids. You just said they were for kids, I guess by virtue of them being cartoon comics, and then ad-hommed them by calling them activist drivel instead of actually arguing with the underlying things that were being said in the comics. Strawman the things that were being said in the comics that it was easier for you to deal with. And based on the amount of times that I have seen Blaire White content reviewed by other people, though this is the first time I've reviewed it on my own channel, that seems to be the general consensus when it comes to Blaire White. Strawmanning, making things easier for her and her audience to tackle instead of actually breaking things down bit by bit. Yes, these things can get complicated. Yes, the terminology can get crazy. Yes, there's a lot of new things to learn. But Google is a wonderful thing, and you can look this shit up, and it's not the most difficult thing. It's not hard, it's just complicated. But if you guys enjoyed this video and my own personal self-loathing, then please go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, hit the bell notification icon so that you can be notified whenever new videos come out, and whenever new streams happen. New streams happen, generally speaking, at 1 p.m. not PST, Eastern, most days, and videos generally go out at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. respectively, Eastern, whenever I have them available to go out. If you enjoyed my content and what I do, please consider becoming a patron, where you can see some more behind-the-scenes stuff and less presented in format stuff. And with all that said, remember to hit like and subscribe, and that's the end of this one.